Welcome to the Chinese Lore Podcast, where I retell classic Chinese stories in English. This is episode 73 of Investiture of the Gods. Last time, the Chan and Jie Sects had assembled for a massive showdown in front of Tong Pass. The leader of the Jie Sect, Grand Master of Heaven, had devised yet another formation, this time the 10,000 Immortals formation, to challenge his foes. Before they got around to attacking the formation, however, the Chan Sect first sent Pure Essence, a member of its class of 12, to go duel against one of the Jie Sect's disciples, Fairy Black Cloud. After they traded a few blows, Black Cloud used a magic hammer to knock down Pure Essence. As Black Cloud prepared to deliver the killing blow, another member of the Chan Sect's class of 12, Grand Completion, shouted, "Don't hurt my Taoist brother! Here I come!" As he spoke, Grand Completion leaped out and occupied Black Cloud, while Pure Essence retreated. After a few exchanges, however, Black Cloud again resorted to his magic hammer and knocked Grand Completion to the ground as well. Grand Completion scrambled to his feet and fled toward the northwest. Grand Master of Heaven told Black Cloud to give chase and capture Grand Completion, so Black Cloud kept up a hot pursuit. Grand Completion was growing desperate as the chase went on, but then, he went around the hill and saw a familiar face, the Buddha Jandi. Jandi let Grand Completion go past and then stepped in front of his pursuer. With a big smile on his face, Jandi said to Black Cloud, "My Taoist friend, how are you?" Recognizing Jandi, Black Cloud barked, "You injured my master at the Immortal Slaughter formation, and now you're blocking my way! You are too despicable!" As he cursed, Black Cloud brought his sword down toward Jandi's head, but Jandi merely opened his mouth and spat out a green lotus flower that parried the blow. "My Taoist friend, you and I share a destiny," Jandi said. "I have come to recruit you to the Westland so that we may enjoy eternal bliss together. Doesn't that sound great?" "You have gone too far," Black Cloud cursed as he attacked again. This time, Jandi pointed with a finger, and a white lotus flower appeared and parried the blow. "My friend, can't you see the white lotus flower in my palm holding back your sword?" Jandi said. "Don't you realize the most happy land is the western region? Lotus flowers and the scent of pineapples fill the gardens there." "Bullcrap! Stop insulting me!" Black Cloud shouted as he attacked again. Jandi pointed again, and a golden lotus now appeared and blocked the sword. "Black Cloud, my friend," Jandi continued, "I am merciful and do not wish to make you show your true form. If I did, it would destroy all your cultivation. I just want you to spread the religion of the West, so I have come to recruit you in kindness. Change your way, now." Black Cloud was not in a listening mood, and he attacked again. Jandi now flicked his dust whisk, and Black Cloud suddenly found himself holding only the hilt of his sword, with the blade nowhere to be found. Infuriated, Black Cloud now unleashed his magic hammer. Jandi leaped back, and Black Cloud pressed forward. "Disciple, where are you?" Jandi said. At that, a young acolyte appeared, holding a bamboo pole. This was Jandi's attendant, the Water and Fire lad. Jandi told him, "Use the Tranquility Bamboo to fish for the golden turtle." The acolyte now cast the bamboo down from the sky. It emitted a bright glow that enveloped Black Cloud, giving him no chance to escape. "Black Cloud, why have you not reverted to your true form yet?" Jandi shouted. At that, Black Cloud twisted his head and morphed into a golden turtle. This was his true form. The turtle took the bait from the bamboo pole. The acolyte stepped forth, pressed down on the turtle's head, and hopped on its shell, steering it toward the west. Meanwhile, Jandi went to the 10,000 Immortals formation. The mere sight of him made Grand Master of Heaven turn red and glower as he shouted, "Jandi, you have come to attack my formation again? I will have it out with you." Jandi, though, simply replied, "Fairy Black Cloud shared a destiny with me. I have tamed him with my Tranquility Bamboo and brought him to the 8 Virtue Pond in the west, where he will enjoy happiness free from your conflicts of the mortal realm." Grand Master of Heaven was irate when he heard that. He was just about to fight Jandi, but from inside his formation, a man stepped out while singing and said, "Who will dare to come into my formation and fight me?" This was the Jie Sect disciple Fairy Dragon. Jandy told Wenshu, a member of the Chan Sect's class of 12, "May I trouble you to go meet this guest who shares a destiny with us?" Before Wenshu went out, Jandy pointed at his head, and 3 beams of light covered him with an auspicious aura. The leader of the Chan Sect, Heavenly Primogenitor, then gave him a magic pendant named after Pangu, the mythical being who separated heaven and earth to create the world. Wielding the pendant, Wenshu went out while singing a verse. Fairy Dragon promptly attacked, and they traded blows with their swords for a few exchanges before Fairy Dragon retreated into his formation. Wenshu followed on foot. Once Fairy Dragon got back inside his formation, he started working his magic, and the formation seemingly turned into one of steel walls and countless weapons. But Wenshu simply waved his magic pendant, and the formation came to a standstill. Wenshu now transformed into a strange figure scented with fragrant breezes and covered with pearls, jade, and lotus flowers. He then unleashed his demon-bounding rope, which promptly tied up Fairy Dragon. Wenshu ordered a divine bodyguard to carry his prisoner back to the pavilion, while he returned to his normal form and casually strolled out of the formation. Once back at the pavilion, Wenshu reported to Heavenly Primogenitor that he had broken his foe's formation. Heavenly Primogenitor then told his senior disciple, Immortal of the South Pole, "Go make Fairy Dragon show his true form." South Pole went outside and saw Fairy Dragon all tied up. He muttered an incantation and said, "Show your true self, now!" Fairy Dragon's head bobbed a couple times, and then he rolled on the ground and reverted to his true form, a blue-maned lion. South Pole reported back to his master, who said, "Let Wenshu have the lion as his ride. Hang a sign from the lion's neck and write Fairy Dragon's name on it." Now, this was just flat out rubbing it in, but I guess we're way past the point of pretend niceties between the two sects. So while Wenshu enjoyed his new ride, the next day, Heavenly Primogenitor and Laozi personally went out to the front lines and asked to speak with Grand Master of Heaven. When Grand Master of Heaven came out, Laozi summoned Wenshu over on his new ride. Laozi then pointed at the lion and said to Grand Master of Heaven, "Your sect is filled with creatures like this, and yet you boast about being skilled in the Tao? What a farce!" Grand Master of Heaven turned bright red and fumed, "Do you dare to take on my double polarity formation?" Before Laozi answered, from inside said formation, the Jie Sect disciple, Fairy Spiritual Teeth, stomped out and issued his own challenge. Heavenly Primogenitor now told one of his own disciples, Universal Virtue, to go meet that challenge. So the two traded some trash talk and then a few blows with their swords before Spiritual Teeth went into his formation. When Universal Virtue followed, Spiritual Teeth worked his magic and summoned some thunder, but Universal Virtue responded by transforming himself into a vicious-looking creature with 3 heads, 6 arms, a purple face, and a wide mouth full of tusks. He rode on lotus flowers, and his body was covered with pearls and necklaces. In this form, Universal Virtue easily overwhelmed his foe, tied him up with his long rainbow cord, and had his divine bodyguard take Spiritual Teeth back to the Chan Sect's pavilion. Once back there, Laozi told Immortal of the South Pole to do his thing. This time, South Pole conked Spiritual Teeth a few times with a scepter, and Spiritual Teeth rolled on the ground and reverted to his true form, a white elephant. Laozi then gave the elephant to Universal Virtue as his mount, and of course, they hung a sign on the elephant's neck as well, with the name Spiritual Teeth written on it. Then, they returned to the front lines. Grand Master of Heaven was furious when he saw 2 of his disciples now serving as his enemy's rides, but before he could go on the offensive himself, his disciple Fairy Golden Light emerged from the 4 bearings formation and challenged for battle. Seeing how ferocious this latest comer looked, Heavenly Primogenitor summoned his disciple Merciful Navigation, gave him a magic scepter and a few words of instruction, and sent him out to answer the challenge. After the customary precursory swordplay, the 2 combatants took their fight inside the 4 bearings formation. Golden Light now summoned his magic seal, and it unleashed countless other magical MacGuffins to attack Merciful Navigation. But merciful navigation quickly patted himself on the head, and a cloud materialized, shielding him from harm. Then, with the roll of thunder, he transformed into a three-headed being, wielding a staff and a scepter while standing on a golden turtle. This sight greatly intimidated Golden Light. He sighed to himself, "The Chan Sect really is something." He now tried to flee, but merciful navigation knocked him down with the magic scepter and told his divine bodyguard to take Golden Light back to the pavilion. And this particular bodyguard must have decided to rub it in even more, because he just chucked Golden Light to the ground from the air. Immortal of the South Pole then patted Golden Light on the head a few times and said, "You beast, show your true form now." Golden Light rolled on the ground and morphed into a jaguar with golden fur, and just like before, he was given to his captor, Merciful Navigation, with the prerequisite name tag around its neck. So now, 3 of the Chan Sect's disciples had fancy new rides, and Grandmaster of Heaven just about had a coronary as he raged over this sight. Just as he was about to attack, one of his disciples shouted, "Master, don't get angry, watch me!" This was Mother Spiritual Tortoise, dressed in a red Taoist robe and wielding a sword. She wanted to attack Grand Completion, the Chan disciple with whom she had prior beef. But another member of the class of 12, Jie Sect, blocked her way. Meanwhile, Heavenly Primogenitor chuckled and said to Lao Tzu and Jandy, "Look at that thing! How can a creature like that attain success in following the Tao? What a joke!" While the sect elders were amusing themselves with their specious snark, Jie Sect and Spiritual Tortoise were going at it with their swords. After a few exchanges, Spiritual Tortoise unleashed her Sun and Moon Pearl. Jie Sect didn't know what powers it held, so he did not dare to take it on, and instead fled toward the west. "Go bring me Jie Sect!" Grandmaster of Heaven shouted. So Spiritual Tortoise gave chase. Suddenly, a man approached from the west. He had his hair tied up in 2 coils. He let Jie Sect pass and then blocked Spiritual Tortoise, shouting, "Don't chase my Taoist friend. Since you have attained human form, you should know your place. Why are you acting up and causing trouble? If you don't listen to me, you will regret it. Turn back now. I am the Buddha Amitabha. I have come to meet those who share a destiny with us." Spiritual Tortoise, however, shot back, "Since you are from the west, you should have stayed there and minded your own nest. Why are you spreading nonsense here?" As she spoke, she unleashed her pearl again, but Amitabha shot out a beam of white light from his finger. At the end of the light, a blue lotus bloomed and blocked the pearl. "Everyone knows that the blue lotus can block your pearl," Amitabha said. But Spiritual Tortoise still didn't know any better, and she tried to hit him again with the pearl. "Alas, at this point I guess I have to sully myself with mortal affairs," Amitabha lamented. "It's not that I am unmerciful, but this has been preordained by fate, and I can't do anything about it. Let me try my own treasure and see how things go." And so, he unleashed his own magic pearl. Spiritual Tortoise couldn't dodge in time and was struck on her back. She fell to the ground and reverted to her true form, that of a giant tortoise. The pearl was so heavy that it forced her head and legs out from inside her shell. Jie Sect now raised his sword to strike, but Amitabha stopped him. "My friend, you cannot kill her. If you harbor such intentions, then you will not be able to complete your trials." Amitabha then summoned his attendant, White Lotus Acolyte, and told him, "I am going with my Taoist friend to meet others who share a destiny with us. You can take this creature back home first." So Amitabha and Jie Sect set off for the front lines. Meanwhile, White Lotus Acolyte took out a small magic pouch and was just about to use it to take Spiritual Tortoise to the west, when suddenly, a swarm of tiny insects escaped from inside the pouch, darkening the sky. These were ugly, ravenous, blood-sucking mosquitoes. They smelled blood and swarmed all over Spiritual Tortoise. Before she or White Lotus Acolyte could chase them away, it was too late. Within moments, they had devoured Spiritual Tortoise from inside out, and the only thing left was an empty shell. Talk about a bad way to go. The mosquitoes didn't stop there though. They now swarmed to the west and devoured the lotus flowers in 3 of the 12 sacred ponds, and it wasn't until Amitabha got back that the exterminator came by and stopped these ravenous pests. But that has no bearing on our story, it's just a little side note. While this gruesome scene was playing out, Amitabha and Jilu Sun were blissfully unaware as they traveled to the 10,000 Immortals formation. There, they were greeted by Lao Zi and Heavenly Primogenitor. But as soon as Grand Master of Heaven saw Amitabha from across the way, he shouted, "Amitabha, you broke my Immortal Slaughter formation before, and now you're here again! Let's see which one of us is better!" And so he spurred on his rhino and raised his sword to attack. Amitabha didn't even bother using his hands. Instead, 3 Buddhist relics emerged from his head and swirled all around, covering the ground with a golden light and keeping Grand Master of Heaven from getting close. Grand Master of Heaven was even more enraged now, and he attacked with a magical instrument called a fishing drum. This is basically an elongated cylinder with a drum face at the bottom that you tap on. But Amitabha merely pointed at it with a finger, and a lotus flower appeared and blocked the drum. Lao Zi and Heavenly Primogenitor now intervened and told Amitabha, "Brother, no need to deal with him today." As their disciples rang the gong to signal an end to the battle, the 2 Chan Sect leaders and the 2 Buddhas turned back for the day. Grand Master of Heaven couldn't stop them and fumed. "Fine, I'll let you go back for now, and we'll fight it out tomorrow." "You go on back, no need to be so impatient," Lao Zi retorted as they all left the battlefield. Once they returned to the Chan Sect pavilion, Heavenly Primogenitor told the 2 Buddhas, "Brothers, with you here to help support the House of Zhou, we can break the formation tomorrow and wipe out the Jie Sect. It's just a pity that those who come to the Tao in the future will not have that school of practice available to them." Amitabha, however, said, "I only came to meet those who share a destiny with us. But in my view, there are more wicked people than good in the 10,000 Immortals formation. Alas, I have to follow where fate leads and cannot force things." Lao Zi chimed in, "Our disciples have completed their trials. Let's break that formation tomorrow so they can recover their vitality and return to their study." So Heavenly Primogenitor summoned Jiang Ziya and asked him, "Where are the 4 magic swords that we took from the Jie Sect when we broke the Immortal Slaughter formation?" Jiang Ziya just so happened to have the swords with him, and he brought them out. Heavenly Primogenitor summoned 4 members of the class of 12, Grand Completion, Pure Essence, Jade Tripod, and Divine Virtue. He told them, "Tomorrow, keep watch while we go into the formation. When you see a pagoda appear in front of the terrace inside the formation, that's your cue to charge in and unleash these swords. They belong to the Jie Sect, so we will use them to finish off the Jie Sect, so that it won't be us committing wicked deeds." Technicalities, anyone? Anyway, Heavenly Primogenitor then told Jiang Ziya, "Tomorrow when we attack the formation, only those who are Chan Sect disciples may enter the formation so that they can complete their trial." Jiang Ziya obeyed and promptly sent word out to all the Chan Sect disciples at the pavilion, and they were all elated and ready to go. Meanwhile, the Martial King and all the mortal officers, aka the non-cool kids, had been waiting back at Tong Pass because none of them were allowed to be at the pavilion. All the officers were itching to go watch some of the action though, and alas, 2 of them got it into their heads to do just that. The General Hong Jin, the guy with the magic door trick, said to his wife, Princess Longji, "I was a member of the Jie Sect, and you were a fairy. We have every right to be at that battle, so why shouldn't we go?" So they agreed, and they went to see the Martial King Jie and said, "We have come to take our leave so that we may go help attack the 10,000 Immortals formation and help Commander Jiang." Jie was delighted by their eagerness and presented them with wine. The couple then set out for the front. The next morning, Heavenly Primogenitor left the pavilion and ordered his disciples to prepare for battle. Meanwhile, on the other side, Grand Master of Heaven summoned one of his trusted disciples, Fairy Long-Ears, and told him, "When I go up against the Chan Sect's leaders and the 2 Buddhas, I will signal for you to wave the 6 soul pennant. When that time comes, do so, don't forget. So in case you forgot, the 6 soul pennant was a magical weapon that Grand Master of Heaven had been honing since his previous defeat a few episodes back. It's a flag with 6 tails, and on each tail, he had written one of 6 names: Laozi, Heavenly Primogenitor, Amitabha, Jandi, Jiang Ziya, and Jifa. It was basically a curse object against those 6, and Grand Master of Heaven had been waiting for a chance to deploy it, and now he has entrusted it to Longears for the upcoming fight. However, even though Longears told his master, "Yeah, I've got it," he was thinking to himself, "From what I've seen, all 12 generations of Chan Sect disciples are men of virtue, and yesterday I saw Amitabha's Buddhist relics. Truly, there is no end to the powers of the Tao." Grand Master of Heaven now went out to the front lines to meet his 4 nemeses. He shouted, "If we don't settle the score today, I will not stop." But before he finished shouting, Hong Jin and Princess Longji arrived on the scene, and they didn't even bother to check in with Jiang Ziya for permission before they galloped headlong into the formation. Now, the Jie Sect disciples inside the formation were not expecting to get bum-rushed, so they were caught off guard, and Princess Longji unleashed her magic swords and injured quite a few of them. But just as husband and wife were charging to and fro, they suddenly saw a dark cloud descending and felt a chilly wind whip up. This was the doing of Mother Golden Spirit. She was overseeing the formation from her 7 fragrance carriage when she got word about the attack. She looked down and saw Princess Longji charging near, so she hurriedly raised her sword to defend herself. After a few bouts, Golden Spirit unleashed her 4 bearings pagoda. Princess Longji didn't know its powers and couldn't duck in time. The pagoda struck her on the head, knocking her off her horse, and she was immediately swarmed and cut down by the other Jie Sect disciples. Watching his wife meet her end, Hong Jin let out a cry and charged at Golden Spirit. But Golden Spirit unleashed a magic scepter that struck Hong Jin in the head as well, killing him instantly. Outside the formation, Heavenly Primogenitor had been preparing to speak with Grand Master of Heaven before Hong Jin and Princess Longji charged in. When he saw their fates, he sighed and lamented to the 2 Buddhas. One of those who just perished was the daughter of the Golden Mother. Alas, heaven has ordained it so, and no man can stop it. Just then, they saw a green flag waving from inside the formation, and as the flag came near, it was followed by 4 Taoists dressed in green, and then a red flag appeared, accompanied by 4 Taoists dressed in red. That was followed by a white flag with 4 Jie Sect disciples dressed in white, all looking rather demonic and vicious. Laozi leaned over and said to Heavenly Primogenitor with contempt, "All these beasts, all coming to throw their lives away for nothing. Look at these creatures." Well, there goes the Chan Sect elders again with their rampant speciesism. But the Jie Sect was not done giving them more fodder. Grand Master of Heaven now pointed his sword toward the east, west, south, and north while gongs rang, and 4 more Taoists appeared. This time, it was Heavenly Primogenitor's turn to snark. "No one in the Jie Sect has a deep understanding of the doctrines," he said. "They are all cursed to suffer this calamity. So sad." Then, a black canopy appeared from the formation, accompanied by 4 more Taoists, and that prompted the 2 leaders of the Chan Sect to turn to their Buddha friends and said, "Look at these people. They are immortals in name only. They don't have a chance of actually cultivating their Tao." And while they were being pompous and judgy, one last quartet emerged under another white banner, again looking vicious and fearsome, holding ridged clubs in their hands. So Grand Master of Heaven has set up 7 quartets, totaling 28 Taoists in all. They were arranged according to 28 mentions of ancient Chinese astronomy, which are kinda like constellations. Basically, ancient Chinese astronomers took the orbital plane of the movement of the sun as observed from Earth over the course of a year, divided it into 4 regions, and further divided each region into 7 subsections. That created these 28 mansions, which are used to then track the moon's progress. Or something like that, given my general lack of knowledge in astronomy, much less ancient Chinese astronomy. All these Taoists lined up in precise order against a backdrop of red smoke, purple lightning, ill-looking clouds, and seemingly countless lackeys. Obviously, the Jie Sect CG department was pulling out all the stops. As Grand Master of Heaven approached the front lines with this impressive army, Lao Tzu said to him, "Today, we are going to see who is better, and in the process, your 10,000 immortals will meet with disaster. This is your doing." "Watch and see what I've got for you today," Grand Master of Heaven fumed as he galloped forth on his rhino and prepared to strike. "What you've got is probably just so-so. Even you will not escape calamity," Lao Tzu chuckled as he spurred on his water buffalo and countered with his shoulder pole. Meanwhile, Heavenly Primogenitor called out to his disciples, "Today, your trials are at an end. Charge into the formation and take on their 10,000 immortals. Don't miss your opportunity." All the Chan Sect disciples rejoiced and let out a battle cry as they charged into the formation. Wenshu, Universal Virtue, and Merciful Navigation galloped forth atop their recently acquired rides, morphed into their powered-up forms, and charged in, followed by fellow members of the class of 12. Behind them came Jiang Ziya, Ne Zha, and the horde of junior disciples, all itching for some action. And in the sky, the freelancer Lu Ya soared through the air and into the fray. On the other side, Grand Master of Heaven directed his disciples forward, and everyone clashed head-on, with magic swords, seals, rings, fans, pagodas, and other MacGuffins of all stripes flying left and right. Basically, it's the final battle in Avengers Endgame, but everyone has an infinity gauntlet of some kind. To see how this epic showdown will pan out, tune in to the next episode of the Chinese Lore Podcast. Thanks for listening.